chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 65, people. Episode 65. I can't believe it. Voldy can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Crazy.
I know, it's crazy. And by the way, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And by the skid of his teeth, Voldy made it in just in time. Skype was giving him fits, but he is in the Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota. Paul Volt, the Shield. What's going on, Shield?
I hate technology so much. I just am not a fan of it. And lo and behold, it takes all the way up until the final moments before 7 o'clock for stuff to start working. Here we are. Let's just talk about some sports.
Exactly. Let's talk about some sports. But before we get to that, first of all, shout out to Jack O'Keefe, Jack's Junkyard. Claps out to him. And shout out to Jimbo as well for striking a deal. I don't know what he did, but he struck a deal. All of a sudden, I get a package at my door. It's a Jack's Junkyard sweatshirt. It's great. It's a great fit, and also, yeah, it's nice and comfy. I'm loving it right about now. So we rep other shows, man. We rep other shows. We love it. So thank you to Jimbo and Jack as well. So these are comfy sweatshirts. You guys should check it out, too. We're giving out our own plugs as well. But, Voldy, we got a lot to get through tonight because, first of all, we got to talk about the Wild. Second, we're going to talk about the Twins. It's been a while, but things need to be addressed. Things need to be addressed about this team. And then the North Remembers is back. Playoff hockey is in the air, but we're going to be going back to 2002, 2003. We're talking about the Minnesota Wild and the Colorado Avalanche. Game 6, Game 7. We're going to get to it. It's going to be fun. ARA, Shield shoutouts, all that fun stuff. So Voldy, let's get it rolling with some Tater Tot. Whoa, hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, people, it is fresh out of the oven. It's Tater Tot Hot Take, and we're talking about the Minnesota Wild. I think that's the first thing we need to talk about tonight, Voldy. And, obviously Game 1 went pretty well for the Wild. I mean, for both goaltenders, I should say, Cam Talbot, Marc-Andre Fleury, absolutely a defensive game for one. Only one goal was scored, and it was an OT that would have scored. But Joel Eriksson Ek with the game winner in OT for Game 1. Great start for the Wild, and obviously we'll get to Game 2 in a second here. But, Voldy, your overall thoughts on Game 1 for the Wild? Picking up a win in Vegas is pretty good for them, right now, because now you split. Yeah. It's split series, but hey, we're heading back to St. Paul. So what do you think?
Yeah, getting game number 1, especially with the performances both goaltenders were putting up, absolutely astounding. The fact that they're able to get the win in Game 1, 0-0, and it was only going to take one goal to win that game. Way Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot were putting in the work. Fleury had many opportunities to give up 5 or 6 goals, and that's the way these matchups have been this year for both these teams. Sometimes it'll be a 2-1 game, next night it'll be an 8-1 win for one team, and flip-flop the other way for the other 2 games of that series as well. But 42 saves for Cam Talbot, and including 19 in the first period alone. Yeah, in the first period things were looking ugly, but Cam Talbot made sure that his guys were going to be well taken care of. And then, Jewel Erickson Ek, we're all expecting, Kaprizov and Zuccarello, Fiala to be the guys to light up the stat sheet. But, Jewel Erickson Ek, he's been having one of those quiet career seasons for himself right now. And obviously getting that goal in overtime to put the Wild up 1-0 was a very strong start to the series, and especially the fact how physical the series is going to be, especially how the fact that the last couple of games of the regular season did get a little bit dicey at times. They were pretty feisty. They were pretty sick and tired of playing each other, and then, lo and behold, you're going to have to play each other for a best-of-7 series. So sitting at 1-1, I'm feeling pretty confident about this, especially coming back to XL Energy Center later this, tomorrow, I believe. Next game will be for game number 3. I think it's going to be a good one as well.
I think so too. And, for game 1, obviously, you look at a lot of the performances from the players, and honestly, the Wild did everything in their power to try and score on Fleury. And honestly, he was terrific, but Cam Talbot was much, much better, in game 1, I should say, because this is what you need to do to win playoff. You need to have a hot goaltender, and right now it is Cam Talbot, okay? Mm-hmm. And Guerin got his guy in the offseason. He's been fantastic. Now, let's keep riding that into the next couple games here, but a lot of, like you said, Voldy, Kaprizov, you think, well, he's going to be ready to go. He is. He's been making shots and things like that. He had a costly penalty game too. But, again, it's all about how you respond to after you lose in game 2. We'll get to that in a second. But when we're talking about game 1 here, Zoners, is that if you can at least split with a team that, again, they had a higher seed, they were probably, they had a better regular season record. But at the same time, we have to remember that, the Wild were supposed to be, like I said, middle of the road, things like that. I've said this 1,000 times. But again, they're getting that experience that they need. Now, we're going to be talking about the whole Parise ordeal too, because in ARA. But we'll get to that as well. But, going into this is an interesting stat line that I'm reading here, Voldy. Teams that win game 1 are 490 to 222, 68.8% winning of the best-of-7 NHL playoff series, including 7-1 in the first round last season. Now, it's positive, it's positive, but we don't want to always go by the statistics from this and everything like that. And, as a player, I would assume those guys are like, we can't think about it. We got to go move on to the next game, got to get ready, going back to St. Paul, things like that. So game 1 was very, very entertaining. And obviously, last night it was too. I watched pretty much almost the full game. For one, I don't know what it is, but Talbot, Fleury were fantastic again. Even though the Wild gave up, 3 goals. Obviously empty, whatever, big, no big deal because technically they lost 2-1. We can just put it like that. But at the same time, they were. Wild are doing everything in their power trying to score on this team, but they just couldn't do it until Dumba hits that goal. Then we're thinking, all right, let's play. Now we're starting to get going here. 18 seconds later, Voldy, Vegas scores. So then the momentum, kind of shifts there. So just give me your thoughts, Zoners, you two, on Game 2 last night. What do you think, Voldy?
Well, unfortunately, I wish I could have said I stayed up to watch these late night games.
I know. Yep.
Have been killer all season, especially the fact that I was up. I was coming back from a softball game an hour and a half away. I still had to work, and then lo and behold, wake up in the middle of the night to change Case's diaper and everything. And then I looked to see if the Wild won, and they lost. So unfortunately, that's just how it's kind of been for the Wild. They get the momentum early on and then unable to bounce back after that as well, because usually when they get the momentum, they start rolling. But then against a team like Vegas, because you just never know what you're going to get night to night with Vegas. Some nights they're going to be the worst team in the NHL, and the next night they're going to be the best team. It really all depends on how goaltending is. And that's been kind of a revolving door this year for Vegas with Marc-Andre Fleury. Robin Leonard filled in for a good while Marc-Andre Fleury was either hurt or dealing with some off-the-ice issues from this past season as well. But, with Fleury, Fleury's the guy. He has been in every kind of situation that has been with playoff hockey. The only goaltender in NHL history to start 15 consecutive postseasons. Yeah. Never been heard of before. With Vegas, with Pittsburgh in his time, he's won Stanley Cups. He's been to the finals multiple times. He knows what it takes to win it. When he's on, he is definitely on. And that's what we're seeing here through these first two games. It's just going to be about how are the Wild going to reciprocate, because they are, I wouldn't say they're scuffling right now, but sooner or later, if they don't start coming with some of the big guys in Fiala and, Zuccarello and Kaprizov, they can keep throwing on as many shots as you want. That's what's going to have to take, because sooner or later, one of them is going to go in. One would think, and then the physicality is definitely going to have to continue to play strong here, especially going into game number 3. The Wild had a record 71 hits in game number 1 alone, so they're definitely not afraid to throw the body around and let Vegas know, because, they've seen each other plenty in the regular season, and well, here we go, best of 7. Here we go into game number 3. It's definitely going to be interesting to find out how this team kind of responds playing on home ice once again, and with more fans in the arena as well is definitely going to be a big-time difference.
And I was just about to mention that, Voldy. It's going to be rocking in the XL.
I hope so.
And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. Obviously, there's been a lot with the pandemic and everything like that, but people are getting vaccinated. Things are opening up. The mask mandate is kaput. But it'll be nice to have that for these players as well. They've gotten a little taste and everything like that, but playoff hockey, this is a different beast now. And a lot of these players have, there's some of the players that have been in the playoffs before. Some of these guys are getting used to how this all works. Vegas has been there before now, so we can't forget that as well. So, I think this is every game's a crucial game in the playoffs, but I think they got to go into this. They can't lose 2 at home. They can't.
No.
If they lose 2 at home, you can kiss the series goodbye, to be honest with you. But if they split, we'll see. But if they win both games, then it's looking pretty damn good.
That's huge.
That's huge. Metz says maybe the Wild should go blocker side on Fleury. Maybe they should. I don't know. You tell me. But they've had a lot of good chances. Honestly, from what I've been seeing, from what I've been noticing, is that they've had good chances. It's just Fleury's just been able to go out and block all these shots. And like you said, Volt, when he's on, and he was on, and it's tough to beat these guys. It's tough to beat these guys, and he doesn't give up too many easy ones, but I feel like the foundations are going to crack. The foundations will crack on Fleury. I think the Wild are going to find a way here. Game 3, looking forward to Game 3, and I think there's going to be a lot of Kaprizov. Kaprizov is going to go off, and I hope so. Obviously, I'm just trying to, be positive here. And like you said, guys like Fiala, Bonino. Bonino had a couple comments that he mentioned to reporters. He said, it's the playoffs, so I'm not surprised it's low scoring. And, obviously we're like, why isn't this, it's not a high-scoring game or anything? Because they're playing really good defense. That being said, we're going to need to score more than 1 a night, that's just true, to beat this team in a 7-game series. You're damn right. And the thing is they've played each other so much. Like, I feel like they know each other's, like, how they work and whatnot. So the Wild need to find a different way to attack them, and I think that they'll be able to find it. Joel Eriksson Ek, I think, has been fantastic. They were talking about, Wes Walls was actually talking about how Mikko Koivu, older guys, Stahl, those guys being gone, and what he's done to step up in their place. Now that he has that opportunity to play well. So I'm feeling pretty good about their chances. So for Game 3, but Voldy, Zoners, what do you think? Do we have any predictions from the Zoners for Game 3? Voldy, you don't have to give me a prediction, but I think I'm leaning towards the Wild getting the win here on Game 3 tomorrow night. So I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see what happens. The Zoners can't wait to see what happens. We're going to get into Parise later on. But, Game 3, let's get it rolling. Let's get the puck in the net, baby. Let's go. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I won't be able to watch it, but we'll move on.
It'll be a late one.
Yeah, it's going to be a late, yeah. I'll be at work, so there's that. All right,
Yeah.
So we go from one, I guess positive thing, there's a team in the playoffs, to a more of a negative with the Minnesota Twins. It's funny when you can almost see some of this coming. And
Right.
The reason why I say that is because, obviously they lost today 2-1. Obviously the pitching was fine, but the pitching the other night for the Minnesota Twins was terrible. Absolutely awful. I have my own spiel on it, Voldy, but this team is probably, I think right now they have the worst record in baseball or something like that. Voldy, how did it come to this, and does this really surprise you or no?
To say it's surprising would be going against everything that a Twins fan kind of really stands for. Are we surprised that we came in with so much optimism and, saying, oh, everything's going to be great? Well, yeah, obviously this is Minnesota sports. I'm not overly surprised. I'm just a little bit taken aback by how things have just come about as of late. The bullpen has been, well, let's say spotty, to say the least, and to say it the most passive-aggressive way possible, because there have been a lot of situations. The Twins have been in every game so far this year, except for those, obviously the blowouts and where, the starting pitching hasn't lasted long. The bullpens come in and ruined everything as well. But you look at it, a lot of the games that have gone extra innings for the Twins had, or they came back and tried to win. They've just been snake bitten when it comes to extra innings. And that's how kind of things have developed. Alex Colomé, Hansel, Robles, guys that, we were pretty high on to start the year, and especially with the former closer experience. And, well, especially Colomé. I mean, he has just been garbage, to say the least. And then, then you go back-to-back, well, this past week with Barrios and Maeda just getting shelled. And it's to say it's embarrassing. It kind of is, especially with a team that's been to the postseason and won the division back-to-back years, and now is just struggling, A, to support a lead from their starters, and B, come up with big hits down the stretch of a ball game. And it's also funny, too, at the beginning of the year that we look at, man, we've got all these guys, who's going to play left field? And now it's just like, who are we going to get to play left field?
Yeah.
Because we're throwing literally everybody out there. I mean, Kirillov's been hurt. Yeah, we're throwing the kitchen sink. We're throwing the whole St. Paul Saints roster out there as well in the process. I mean, Rob Refsnyder was out there. Luis Ariz was out in left field. You got Garlick, who's playing a lot more than he probably initially thought he was going to be playing at the start of the year. And then everything has just been up and down, left and right. And you get Miguel Sano with the biggest flash in the pan in his career with a three home run game last night. And, well, that's probably the most he's going to hit in the next month plus, because there's just no consistency with this lineup overall, and guys are just making it up as they go. So there's too many question marks to be answered to narrow down where things have gone wrong. Completely, it's a team effort in this one.
I have a hard time, just I understand there's injuries. It happens in baseball and everything like that. But, why do I always have to say this? Why? I mean, it's every time I say this, I blow up. I get, I have steam coming out of my ears. My face gets red. I almost want to throw stuff all around. But tonight, I don't. I have no patience. Obviously I'm pissed. I think a lot of the Twins fans are pissed too. I mean, the people that follow this team, religiously almost, and it doesn't surprise me because it's been the same cycle almost over and over again for years now. Why is that the case? Why is that where we have to sit here and say, listen, why are they doing this? Why aren't they getting out and getting guys that they should? Why aren't the poll ads spending money to get these guys? Throw out some of their own money instead of trying to hold it all back and everything like that, because all the Twins are doing right now is getting guys that have been washed up and they think that they can fix. But guess what? That's not the only reason why the pitching's been awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, the bullpen, if you're giving up 16 runs and then you're putting in, we love La Tortuga, okay? We love La Tortuga. But I'm telling you guys this right now. If he's out there pitching, there's something wrong. There is definitely something wrong. And you and I can both agree on this, is that it comes down to the bullpen. It comes down to the bullpen, the starting pitching, and you know what? Even the coaching. Because there's been some questionable decisions by Rocco Baldelli, and the fact that we can't sit there and sit here and say, well, it's just that, they've had injuries and enough of the injury BS. Stop it. I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay? The injuries and everything like that, I don't want to hear it. I understand Buxton has issues and things like and when he comes back, hopefully he's back to what he was before. Mm-hmm. But the issue still remains, is that the coaching right now has been abysmal. And Voldy, I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to tell the zoners, I'm going to tell it to all every Twins fan. I honestly, I almost want the Twins. If the Twins keep ending up the way that they are right now, I think it's time to fire Baldelli. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, because a lot of the decisions that he has made have been awful. Why the hell are you putting Astudillo at second? Why are you putting him out in the out? I mean, what the hell are you doing? A lot of this stuff, you just scratch your head and say, we're just so low on guys and everything like that? Come on, this is a joke. This team has been terrible. The pitching has been bad. Barrios, what the hell has he been doing? Maeda, for God's sake. This guy was supposed to be our ace here. He's not been our ace. He's been subpar at best. And now we have one of the worst records in baseball. So the Twins need to look at this and say, this is not okay. We need to fix this, and we need to fix this now, because we might be losing, they're going to be losing jobs here, I think, at the end of the season. If this keeps the way it's been going, they're supposed to be going out for a pennant this year. And now look at where they're at the bottom. They're at the bottom. They're at the absolute bottom. So it drives me insane. The loss, and we'll get to the 3-0 pitch with Astudillo and everything like that. People and it pisses me off too. Oh, guess Astudillo, La Tortuga pitched. Oh, shut up. First of all, shut up. The Twins got destroyed. They're up, was it 14-1 before Donaldson hit a 2-run homer? Thank God Donaldson did something. But it's just, it's bad. It's honestly bad. But like you said, like I've been saying, it doesn't surprise me. And obviously, it's frustrating to all hell. And and it all comes down to the poll ads not spending money, the coaching not being what we thought it was going to be, the sabermetrics, the analytics BS that gets thrown into this. And again, I guess you can throw in the injuries deal. I don't know what they're doing, why these guys keep getting injured and why they can't get guys, but I don't know, man. It's gotten to the point where I just you want to give up on this team, and it's frustrating. But there's still time to turn it around. And, I don't want to be completely negative on this, but Voldy, before we move on to the North Remembers, what are your thoughts? Do you think that they can turn this around, or are we kind of like dead in the water here? What do you think?
It really all started going downhill as soon as the Twins all got COVID, and that series against the Angels had gotten postponed. Games got moved around, couple rainouts, things of that sort. That's when it all really started to go downhill. Guys started getting hurt. I think the real big thing for the Twins is going to have to be, obviously, they need to start changing the lineup or something. They need to start cracking some skulls, figuratively and literally. I think guys need to start getting out there and start getting angry. I think it's going to take me calling them all a gigantic dumpster fire like we did last year with Jose Barrios, because that's where we're at right now, is just one gigantic dumpster fire right now. The Twins are. They can't get a hit, and when they do, well, they end up squandering it anyway, and especially in a big situation. I will give them the fact that they came back last night. Well, they came back last night to win the game in the ninth. Then you go ahead and blow it in a 2-1 loss against the White Sox this afternoon. Just garbage, complete and utter garbage. Starting pitching needs to pick things up. Bullpen needs to do their job. Otherwise, there's definitely a dozen guys down at the Saints and with St. Paul that'll definitely come up in the majors and do what they're supposed to do. And you know what? Solidifying where everybody's going to be in the outfield and positionally on the infield too would certainly help, instead of just the revolving doors at each position, and just solidify a few things. And I think Baldelli, I'm kind of at the same point too. If things don't turn out this season, you may want to start looking to see what the old free agent market's like for managers, because, there's a short leash, and a lot of these guys, I'd be surprised if a lot of them are here at the end of next year, just because I think, especially for Miguel Sano, I think Sano is in his last season with the Twins, if he even makes it through the rest of the season. So, that's where I'm kind of looking at here with the Twins.
There's going to be a Callahan school of logic on the poll ads and the effect. They're ready to go. It's going to be a little bit shortened for the zoners, unfortunately, with everything that's been going on and whatnot, because, Voldy's got to be a dad. And, myself, I need some sleep and whatnot. And let's hope let's try this a second time and see how it goes. But we promised you the North Remembers, and guess what? We're going to bring it to you. We're going to bring it to you. The North Remembers. Voldy, let's just get it going, because we need to.
Yes, we do.
These are the moments enshrined in Minnesota sports history. The North Remembers.
Well, we are back. Obviously, I have the other stream up just to make sure that we're good to go.
We're here.
We're here. We're doing the thing. So let's get to the North Remembers. We promised it to you guys, so we're gonna bring it to you. And so Voldy, we're talking about the 2003 conference quarterfinals between the Minnesota Wild and the Colorado Avalanche. Voldy, it was a series to remember. Because
it certainly was.
This was a magical. First of all, it was a magical season. The Wild did a phenomenal job, especially being that still freshly new expansion team and whatnot. And there's a lot of Wild players from the article that I was reading and everything like that. But let's get to your just own experiences first, Voldy. Tell me, obviously, we're pretty young at that time, so we probably didn't know too much. But Park's goal, then Brunette's goal, and everything like that. I remember watching it. Voldy, what do you remember about that series?
Nothing. I don't remember a damn thing about it. I don't know if I was definitely not watching the Wild at the time, but going back and watching it, it's still pretty awesome to even watch and see all the stuff that they were able to do during that time, because especially the makeup of the team overall, because there's a lot of guys that were on that team that were just young pups that became faces of the franchise for years for the Wild down the road. And ultimately, this was the team. This was the team to do anything. The farthest the Wild have gone in their franchise history. Now in their 20th season in the NHL, this was the team that made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, ultimately lost to the Ducks that ended up losing the series as well. I think it was to New Jersey that year for the Stanley Cup. But, I mean, looking at it, Richard Park, Game 6, synonymous. Andrew Brunette, Game 7, beating Patrick Waugh at the end of his career. Beyond that, that's really the only things I remember. But looking back and looking at all the names, there's some guys on there that we'll definitely want to talk about here. Is just, there's a great core of what the Wild were at the beginning of their time in the NHL to where guys are now at here with the current team that could definitely go back and, pay their respects to the guys that paved the way.
Absolutely. And, honestly, the thing is I actually do remember this, but not like so vividly and everything like that because, I remember I was, 2003, so it must have been, was it third grade? Was it third grade?
You were like 9 or 10 or something like that.
Third grade or something. But one of my classmates who was no longer with us, Sam Goffredson, rest in peace to Sam, he was a big Wild fan. And he would always come to, he'd be wearing a Wild hat, wearing a Wild, things like that. He actually was probably the one person that got me very interested in the Minnesota Wild. And he was talking about how they were going to kick butt and everything like that. I was like, whatever. But I actually watched the Game 7, I think, and I saw the Andrew Brunette goal, and I went nuts. And it was such a good series. And, you know who was on that team? Wes Walls, for one, obviously. And then I forget, Brad Bombardier. I don't know if you remember him or if anyone else
how
does.
could you not remember Brad Bombardier?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
One of the OGs, man.
Yeah. A lot of OGs on this team. And, they were talking about how a lot of people just, they thought they were going to get killed against the Avalanche. Like Patrick Waugh and all those guys on that. I think Sakic was still on the team then, I believe. Yep. But, Darby Hendrickson, Jacques Lemaire. Jacques Lemaire was just a great, great coach. But, what I do remember about that is that they had budding stars. They had Marian Gaborik. Marian Gaborik, that was the guy, man. Obviously, we all loved Gabby and whatnot. But they were talking about how no one thought, they didn't want to play Colorado, to be quite frank. They didn't want to play Colorado. And honestly, there was some little chip on their shoulder, but at the same time, they just wanted to prove everyone that, hey, you know what, we're gonna go out there and play our best and go from there, and that's what they did. And they started off good. They like 6-1-1 or something like that. To begin the regular season, but they went out there and said, screw it, we're going to go out there and give it our all. And they did. And the thing is they fought. They fought like hell. And they did one hell of a job. And, there's a quote in here, too, that I want to bring up. What Richard Parks said. He goes, I don't know if we could have forecasted something like that with an organization being so young, exactly, and not having established itself throughout the league. I don't think anyone, including ourselves, really expected us to have that kind of success. It was a really special bunch. So, like you said, Voldy, that was kind of, that the team that you thought, oh my gosh, they're going to go out there. Unfortunately, they get by the Canucks and everything like that, but then they they go against the Ducks, and then they get swept. Which you were going up against a really good team in the Ducks at that time. I mean,
Yeah, they were too good. Their goaltending, John Sebastian Shiger, I mean, Jiggy was at the top of his game at that point. Unfortunately, he couldn't do much in the Stanley Cup Finals. But, I mean, yeah, goaltending, we've been talking about it with the Wild currently. I mean, with Talbot and Kokkonen, I mean, they're going to carry you throughout the playoffs. And lo and behold, who did the Wild have back then? Good old Dwayne Rollison and Manny Fernandez. I was a huge Manny Fernandez guy back in the day. Oh, man, that's a callback.
That is a callback. And, they had – the thing is the Avalanche had Hall of Famers on that team too. Forsberg and Sakic, obviously. And then Rob Blake and Patrick Waugh. I mean, just
Adam
crazy.
Foote, wasn't he on that team too? I mean, there were some big dudes on that team.
There were, and let's not forget they were down 3-1 in that series, and then also same deal with the Canucks. They were supposed to lose against it, but they came and they beat the Canucks, but then they go and take on the Ducks, and that just didn't go well. Which again, it is what it is, but that Minnesota sports in general. But at the same time, they proved that hey, we can hang with the best of them, and they did. And Jacques Lemaire was one of the top coaches at the time, and he had a brilliant mind for hockey. I mean, if that was the team to win, that would probably be the team. So we'll just I mean, it's something that you'll never forget, and obviously you want to see the Wild, get to that point and maybe even beyond too. So, Voldy, the one last thing I'll ask you, and then we'll get to ARA, shortened version of ARA this week. But what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think that this Wild team, not this year, but maybe in the years to come, will have that same magic that this 02-03 team had?
I think so. I think there's a really good, strong core. When I look at the lineup from 02-03, I'm seeing young guys in the lineup like Marian Gaborik, Pascal Dupuis, God rest his soul. Andrew Brunette was coming on his age 29 season. I'm seeing other guys that were going to be staples for the Wild for years to come. Pierre-Marc Bouchard, PMB, seeing also like Nick Schultz, who was 20. Darby Hendrickson was 30 at the time. Stefan Veilleux with his first of like 25 stints with the Wild. He was 21 at the time. And then you throw in the grizzled veterans. Brunette, again, he was 27. Cliff Roning was in the twilight of his career. He was 37, but he put up 48 points in 80 games that year. Wes Walz, Antti Laaksonen as well. Sergei Zoltak, God rest his soul as well. That were huge parts of the Wild for the first few years in existence, but really laid the groundwork of what it means to be a successful team in the NHL. Then you had Dwayne Rollison, Manny Fernandez. Those guys were there from the start of the Wild as well. That would pave the way for other goaltenders to come in. Nicholas Backstrom. I mean, and then the revolving door that was with Wild goaltending for a few years, leading up to Devin Dubnyk, and now with Talbot and Kokkonen as well, and all the other guys that got traded away. But I look at this team that they have now, the good mix of youth with great experience going in. A lot of similarities to that 02-03 team that I'm seeing. So I say with it, in the next few years, I think the Wild are definitely going to be contenders. I mean, it's still early on. It's the opening round of this year's playoffs with the Wild and Vegas being tied 1-1. But you know what? I could definitely see a lot of similarities between these two teams.
Yeah, and obviously there's room for them to get better too next year. I mean, even if they don't come out to win or anything like that, I mean, this year, then I really don't have a big issue with it, because I know at some point that they're going to get better from this. I mean, I think Guerin's putting them in the right direction. So, but this 02-03 team, I mean, you can't forget it. You honestly cannot forget about how great this team was. Wes Walz, Bombardier, Brunette, just awesome team.
Yep.
So never forget it. All right, Voldy, it's time for Absurd or Approved. We're doing a condensed version. Why don't you pick the top three, and we'll go through it. We'll have the zoners chime in as well. So let's get it going with some Absurd or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy, it's time for absurd or approved. So why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we're going to start here since we've been talking about the Wild a lot here tonight. Well, it's been no surprise, at least in my mind, but Zach Parise's been a healthy scratch for the first 2 games of their playoff series against the likes of the Vegas Golden Knights. Not surprising overall in my mind, but, this is the second time now that Zach Parise has been a healthy scratch going into the playoffs, a couple of times as well in the regular season. Up until this point, has never been a healthy scratch. He's either played or he's been hurt, with the numbers that have been dwindling in years past as well. Wild GM Bill Guerin did come out and say that he has a lot of sympathy for Zach, given the situation. It's a crappy situation for him to be in. I've been there, and it's just not great. He's a real pro. He just wants to help and be part of it. So, is it absurd or approved that Zach Parise not playing in the playoffs and being a healthy scratch in the opening round of the postseason for the Wild?
Honestly, to see Zach Parise kind of not be in these playoffs it's tough for me. It's tough for me because I've always been a big fan of Parise, and Voldy, you have too. But again, it's one of those things where you got to ride the hot hands. You got to see who's playing the best and everything like that. And I think a lot of people aren't a big fan of Victor Rask, and I think a lot of guys think that Parise should be in there instead of him. But there's so many people that you could go back and forth with it. But I just feel like Parise's proven himself, and I don't think he would be a liability to the team or anything like that, because I don't think that's him. He's always worked his ass off, and he's done a fantastic job. It's just Evison, I feel like Evison and Parise have kind of been on 2 different wavelengths, and I think that factors in. I think Guerin says it's a tough decision, everything. He's trying to ducky and bunny it a little bit, but at the same time, I guess it doesn't surprise me, because I got a feeling after whatever happens in the playoffs here, I think Parise might have his last the time here in Minnesota, but we'll see. I mean, with that contract and everything, it's hard to navigate around that. But I'd say it's a little absurd, just because I think he's had some of those playoff experiences and things like that. But I just think you just got to ride with the guy that's been there before. So that's just my opinion. Voldy, what do you think?
Given the first 2 games, the way things have kind of shaped up, for the Wild to be 1-1 right now,
yeah,
I don't see that as a bad thing. With Zach Parise out of the lineup, also, I don't see that as a bad thing. Look, I'll be the first one to go to bat for Zach Parise. Been a fan of him for a long time. Been a big fan of his dad as well. God rest his soul, J.P. Parise as well. He was a good man and a good coach as well, and obviously his sons have played pretty well in their own time. And Zach's brother Jordan as well had a nice career overseas. I look at the situation, and Bill Guerin understands. At the end of Bill Guerin's career, he was a healthy scratch. He was a guy that was going to be a leader off the ice. I would venture to say, if you ask Zach Parise right now, and if this team goes to win a Stanley Cup without him being in the lineup at all, would he say that he was happy about it? I would venture to say that he would probably be happy about it. That being said, if it takes for him to be in the lineup, they end up winning Stanley Cup, that is fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better result, because he was the guy. I think it was 2012, 2012. Zach was the guy that carried New Jersey all the way into the playoffs, into the Eastern Conference, all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Him and Martin Brodeur were the 2 guys that carried the New Jersey Devils to go against the LA Kings. Kings ended up winning their first Stanley Cup that year. So be it. That's just how it ended up happening. But to be that close and be the guy at the top, I'm sure it did hurt Zach a little bit. But now going all the way, venture 10 plus years down the road now, you look at it, and if the Wild end up doing and making those postseason run all the way to the finals, they end up winning, I feel like that's going to quiet a few things overall. But, him being scratched first 2 games, I want to say it's approved. I really do want to give it my stamp of approval. there have been times that, the numbers aren't fully there. But if the Wild don't get any production on the lower lines after tomorrow night, I would venture to say he's going to be back in the lineup, especially if they're going to go down 2-1. Knock on wood as I say that. If they go down 2-1, I think he'll be back in the lineup. I'll be interested to see if he does make the lineup for Game 3, and I'd be happy about it as well. So I think right now it's got my stamp of approval.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is if they win this series, maybe they're on to something, and that's totally fine. But, then again, however the series shakes out, I think we could just classify that as that. If it's a bad decision, fine. But at the same time, I think the inevitable is going to be coming. So there's that as well. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, the rich keep on getting richer, and, Kansas City is going to be one of those teams. It was announced this past week the Kansas City Chiefs have acquired cornerback Mike Hughes from the Minnesota Vikings in a trade that will send the 2022 sixth-round pick, while the Vikings also sent a seventh-round pick to Kansas City in that same deal. So the Chiefs get Hughes in a pick, while the Vikings just get one pick and no player in return. Looking at the situation overall, Mike Hughes was coming off an injury the last couple of seasons. Production was down as well since being drafted into the league. Absurd or approved, Mike Hughes getting traded to Kansas City for the picks.
I'm going to say right off the top, stamp of approval. Look at the depth that the Vikings have right now. I mean, you got Patrick Peterson. You have Cam Dantzler. I understand the Gladney situation. I'm not sure how that's panning out. I don't think no one knows, but probably Gladney himself and the Vikings organization and whoever's involved with that situation. I don't think anybody knows, but apparently if he's still on the roster, then I assume he's going to be there too. So you have Gladney, you have Dantzler, you have Patrick Peterson, you have Mackenzie Alexander, you have Harrison Hand. I mean, the list goes on. So I think this was the Vikings showing, okay, we really don't need him. And honestly, this guy keeps getting hurt. And that was the main thing for us, is that, the guy can't stay on the field. And that's what's frustrating. And, maybe that can change in Kansas City. And Kansas City was like, well, we need some depth at corner, and that's what they did. They went and get Mike Hughes. It makes sense from that aspect, okay? But at the same time, it'd be nice to have, as much depth as you can. As Zem likes to say, you can never have enough corners, And that was kind of the big thing, is that the Vikings were like, well, we really don't need him. He's injured most of the time, so let's, we can get rid of him and get some picks out of it. Obviously, you wish you got like maybe a third or fourth or something like that for him, but based on what his production has been, I think this is a good trade. It was pretty much okay, you're really not going to probably stay with us. We're moving on from you. Good luck in Kansas City. And I really do hope he does well and he stays healthy. But, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval for the Vikings. They have way too much depth at the corner position right now. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the Vikings needed to strike while the iron was hot, especially the fact that he was on injured reserve 2 seasons ago. And, obviously his first 3 years, he's only played 24 games, 80 tackles, 13 pass defenses, and 2 career interceptions, one of them being returned for a touchdown. His first one in just 3 seasons. Unfortunately, you make a pick on a guy, it ends up working sometimes. And unfortunately, sometimes maybe a change of venue is what's going to be needed for Mike Hughes to come out with something positive in his career. But again, the amount of depth right now, it's kind of in the favor of the Vikings right now. I mean, they did just lose Kansas City. They did just lose a player to, believe it or not, they lost him to the Bucks, believe it or not. I can't remember which player it was, but it was definitely a defensive back that they did lose to the defending champs in Tampa Bay. But I think both sides came out on the positive end of this. Of course, the Vikings do bring back Mackenzie Alexander after a 1 season away. Again, we don't know what's going on with Jeff Gladney and that whole legal situation, but we certainly hope things work out for the better for all parties in that situation as well. But I think it's got my stamp of approval. I need to get something out of a guy that probably wasn't going to get a whole lot of playing time to begin with.
I mean, the thing is like when he was like, I think it was like his first rookie game, he had like a pick 6 on Jimmy G. So,
And
I
he
mean,
did.
there's some positive out of it. I just hope it goes well for him. But, when this guy's been more on the medical side of the field or on the bench and, doing whatever, the Vikings got to keep moving on. So, but keep on keeping on. So that's kind of the main thing that they had to do. So, yeah, like I said, I think, it's just one of those things where it's like, we have enough depth. We don't really need you. So there's that. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, of course, the Twins taking a loss on the chin. It was Monday night against the Chicago White Sox and ultimately losing the series 2-1 against the Chicago White Sox today, losing 2-1. But it was Monday night in the blowout when it was a 15-4 lead. And, well, the Twins didn't want to waste any more pitchers, so they bring out Cy Young candidate, that being Willians Astudillo, that being La Tortuga, into pitch for his third time, I think, in his career, second time this season, something along those lines. And, well, on a 3-0 count, the designated hitter, Yermain Mercedes, swung on a 3-0 count that did ruffle a few feathers, and in the process, Mercedes decides to take the 47-mile-an-hour pitch over the center field fence for his third hit of the game. Now, this did ruffle a few feathers, mostly in the White Sox locker room, with Tony La Russa saying that it was a big mistake, and also quoted as saying on Tuesday that the fact that he's a rookie and excited helps explain why he was just clueless. But now he's got a clue. Now they're saying that things are going to be handled internally in the locker room with Mercedes and the whole swinging on a 3-0 count. And this did also bring up some factors outside of the two teams that were mentioning the fact that the unwritten rules of baseball. But is it absurd or approved? A, Mercedes swing on 3-0 for the home run in the blowout, and Tony La Russa's comments against his player.
Well, to be honest, I mean, for the Twins' perspective, I could care less. I'm kind of fine with him smacking the ball and having them go up by that much because, how the Twins' season has gone. I mean, yes, insult to injury, I get that, and obviously this was Astudillo trying to walk the guy and whatnot. But to be honest, it's one of those things where it's like, didn't really matter in a way. I don't think that's a huge deal because, the Twins need to understand how to find right pitching and not put in Astudillo for some freaking reason. But, it ruffled some feathers. I honestly wouldn't say that I would tell him to go do it again. I wouldn't say, I'd just say, hey, just don't do that again. Just, and whatnot. But it seems like La Russa's kind of making it like this huge deal. I just think he goes, I talked to him. I just said, don't do that. But it's one of those things where it's like, whatever. The Twins were going to lose anyway, and honestly, I'm kind of impartial to it. And him taking that swing, I probably wouldn't have done it. I think it's probably absurd in that respect, but just to make a point for the Twins that you guys are being a laughingstock right now, I think that should motivate you. So, and if that doesn't motivate the Twins, well, I don't know what will. So, yeah, I think it's absurd. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, do something about it, Twins. Right. So that's kind of the big thing. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think the whole situation is absurd in the fact that we're talking about it now at this point. But, look, it was a blowout loss. Chicago had it in hand. When you send a guy out there who's throwing 47 miles an hour, I think Mercedes more likely was just like, all right, I'm just going to swing. Let's just get this game over. We're going to be back here tomorrow night anyway. Let's just get this thing over with. And, well, with a guy who's that size, I wasn't surprised that he hit it over the fence. I don't think the Twins – well, okay, the Twins did have an issue because they threw up Mercedes the next night. Tyler Duffy threw behind him or whatever. But, again, then it's settled. No harm, no foul the rest of the way. Tony La Russa going out there and saying that his player is clueless – all right, that's kind of interesting a little bit in my mind. Yeah. I think the whole situation is a little bit absurd because the fact, look, this is baseball. Obviously, in the new world that we're trying to do, and try to make things. Obviously, Tony La Russa is Hall of Fame. He's already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He's won them all. He's seen it. He's done it all. And you know what? Saying that he shouldn't have swung 3-0, yeah, he's right in that sense as well. But given the context of the situation, a young kid out there, let's give it one at bat. Let's just get the game over with. And the kid is strong enough to put one over the fence. And especially when you throw Astudillo out there to throw, 47 mile an hour EFIS pitches, what else is going to happen?
Well,
It's
exactly.
throwing softball pitches out there. And you know what? I think the whole situation is just absurd.
I agree with you. But from the Twins' perspective, I mean, why is he out there? I mean, is it just because we didn't have anyone else available to throw in? I mean,
They don't want to waste anybody.
Right. Well, that's true too. But I just think from this perspective though, it just shows how bad the bullpen has been too. And and them not being able to get the job done. Like, are you kidding me? And this is the issue at hand too. So it's on the Twins, but at the same time, like you said, what do you think he's going to do? I mean, he's not going to throw a 95 mile an hour fastball down the pipe. It was just a bad situation in general. So, I agree with you, but, at the same time, it just shows how bad the Twins have been so far. So
Yeah, seriously.
But, yeah, the whole situation's just totally absurd. So there's that. But anyway, that'll do it for ARA this week for our Part 2 MinneZona Sports Live. We appreciate the Zoners for coming back and tuning back in. But, obviously, internet connection and everything like that, sometimes it's not your friend. It really isn't
No,
your
it is
friend.
not.
So, but anyway, Voldy, you've got some Shield shout-outs to get through. So why don't we get to it? Let's get to some Shield shout-outs.
Shield Shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting at tonight?
All right, well, first off, I want to say a big thank you to the guys at UniWatch and Adelphi Sports for allowing me to live out a little bit of a dream of mine to get some personalized jerseys made up. You can see one of them right behind me.
Yes.
I'm going to have to bring it down
I
here so you
sees
get the full effect.
Yeah,
But-
looks good.
Come on. You can see the name on the back.
Case's daddy. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Case's daddy, that's right. And you're probably wondering why number 39. Well, Case was born on March 9th, so that actually worked out pretty well. So that's the reason with that. And I got another one. I got a yellow version of that's got the shield and 34 on the back. It is fantastic. So big shout out to the guys at UniWatch for coming through on the personalized jerseys. I do want to say also a big Shield shout out, big thank you as well, and safe return to one of the Zona originals, one of the favorites, Cody Nicholas Tavares Curtis and his lovely wife Megan for sending us a baby gift as well. They got lost. I shouldn't say got lost in the mail, but we've been moving around a little bit here. It actually went to an old apartment here in Aiken, eventually found its way here, and there's a couple of nice things in there as well for Case, and also for Cody hooking me up as well with another patch. I wish I had it right in front of me. I see it's over by the other coffee table from Ballast Point Brewing Company out in San Diego, and he knows how much of a big patch collector that I am, and we talked about that too. So thanks, big thank you to the Curtises for the baby gift, which came along with a patch to add to the collection as well. A big shout out to a couple former players I covered when they were in high school and one even in college as well that played for the South Dakota State Jackrabbits football team as they unfortunately lost in the national championship to Sam Houston State. Jackson and Jaden Yankee, the Yankee twins, and Mason White Lightning Layton. So congrats on a great season to those kids as well, and hopefully they continue on with their football, their prowess. There were some pretty good players in their own right, not only on the football field, but also on the basketball court as well. Some fun games to cover with those guys. So a big Shield shout out goes out to the Yankee twins and to Mason Layton as well. We go to the class of 2020 for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, getting their time and their honor as well. That after last year getting canceled because of COVID, the late great Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Tamika Catchings, a legend in the WNBA, and also current LSU women's basketball coach, but formerly of Baylor University, Kim Mulkey, were inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, along with others as well during their time and their contributions to the game of basketball as well. So a big Shield shout out, and also happy belated birthday to the Big Ticket as well. Celebrated a birthday, I believe it was yesterday, or is it today? Well, one of the two. I don't know.
We'll look
either
at
way.
it.
Either way, happy birthday to the Big Ticket regardless. Also, the 2021 finalists for the Basketball Hall of Fame that will most likely be going in does include some of the players that we most definitely grew up watching, and a few players that and coaches as well going in. Looks like Chris Bosch and Chris Webber, the two Chris's, will be most likely going into the Hall of Fame. The Truth, Paul Pierce, my main man, going into the Hall of Fame. Former Timberwolves coach Rick Adelman is going to be a Hall of Famer as well, but he was probably more well known for his time that wasn't with the Timberwolves in his time. Going in this time as a coach, Bill Russell. He's already in the Hall of Fame as a player and a contributor to the game, but Coach Bill Russell will be going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Villanova coach Jay Wright, who is actually a friend of the program as well. Maybe we get something lined up here in the near future. And former Chicago Bull, who probably rose to more prominence in the Last Dance docuseries that came out last year, Tootie Kukoc is going into the Hall of Fame as well for his contributions internationally as well for the Basketball Hall of Fame. And that is going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Oh, there we go. We had a nice Shield shoutouts to end it. And, today was just not our day. In regards to technology, it happened on Voldy's end, and it happens on my end too. But at the same time, it was something to where it was out of our control. It's like I pay money for having this internet, and it's been great. Don't get me wrong, it's been great. But obviously, things happen like that. But we made it through. We had a show for you. We needed to get it to the zoners. We got through Tater Tot Hot Take. I mean, that was the main thing. So
got through that at least.
We'll be making sure we edit it and whatnot. But anyway, great job as always, Voldy on Shield. Shout outs. And before we get going, obviously, if you don't have a shirt, if you don't have stickers, well, guess what? We got them for you. All right, $2. $2 for the small ones, $3 for the big ones. You know the deal. We've got them. And if you want some, come get some. Things like that. We'll make sure you guys get MinneZona stickers. Even if you have a couple and you want more, we can get them to you, because why not? And then the shirts, $20, $5 shipping. Talk to me, talk to Voldy, talk to Jimbo, talk to Kerf Doctor. We will get you set up and whatnot. So, and I believe... Oh, yes.
Update on the sweatshirts. Yes, I believe you were just about to get to it.
Yep.
Sweatshirts are in the mail. Jimbo picked them up on, I believe it was Monday, boxed them up last night, and I believe they're either going to be in the mail either today or tomorrow as well. So if you did order a sweatshirt with us here in the last couple of months, they're on the way. On the way.
And I know some people that have ordered them, and we will let them know as well in case they haven't been if they haven't tuned in for a bit. We will let you guys know. They're coming. They're coming, baby. So we'll get them to you. And obviously, the sweatshirts are, fine and dandy. We're glad to send those over to you. And we got to thank National Fleet Graphics, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for getting us the stickers, things like that. And obviously Jimbo for helping us set up the shirts and sweatshirts and everything like that. I mean, just mega props for Jimbo. He's been fantastic. And also, make sure to check out W2 Performance. We're going to try to get Roller Tell on here very soon. The Barbell Nerds podcast, they always got something going on. They've got stickers, $2. Make sure to check them out as well. Jack O'Keefe, Jack's Junkyard. We are repping the sweatshirts for Jack's Junkyard. And they're fantastic. They're comfy. I love it. Thank you so much to Jack O'Keefe for supporting MinneZona, and obviously we got love for Jack's Junkyard, and we're showing it right now with the sweatshirts. So if you want apparel, let Jack know. And obviously, season 2 still rolling. So there's that. And then also, Breaking Into the League podcast with Sam Gabrielli, Ryan Martin. It's available on the Spotify's, the Apple's podcasts, wherever you want to listen to some Breaking Into the League. The up-and-coming NHL stars. Perfect time for playoff stuff. So there's that as well. But anyway, Voldy, great job as always. We fought through. We got through it. And Easy A is throwing in his love too. Love-hate relationship with technology. You're damn right. If that isn't the truth.
It's more hate at this point, Easy A. It
is. I mean, it's but we push through it, and hopefully this won't happen next week. I mean, I got a good feeling it won't, but it's been a while since we've had issues like this. So we appreciate the zoners for tuning in. We love all the zoners for helping us out, so we appreciate it. But anyway, we'll probably see you next week, and, always remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.